We are a law-abiding country, but the right for self-defense is part of the international law, especially opposite existential threats. So this is why we have operated the way we did. Let me remind you, if you're talking about the international law, there are only two countries, two member states in the United Nations, in which one is openly saying that its goal is the total destruction of the other. The Iranians has said it again and again on public platforms.
There have been Israeli ministers who have said similar things about the population in Gaza and Tehran. I mean, if we're just picking out individual statements.
Okay, hang on. And let's not go into that rabbit hole at this moment. Can I perhaps approach it from another way? Let me see if I can put it this way. So we've heard your evidence that that Israel was under threat, and certainly the bellicose language used by Iran was something that we put to the ambassador. The fact that they had nuclear material that seemed to be much purer than 3.6% without any kind of explanation for it also is very threatening to Israel. We appreciate all of that, but the evidence that the threat was an imminent one is something which is, I think, an important point. And although it's something that the Israelis have said, and sometimes the Americans have said, some Americans have said, and some Americans have said many things, within a few days. What we haven't had is we haven't had any evidence. And I wondered why, if the Israelis believed that they were under imminent threat, why it was that they didn't produce that evidence before the international community. Don't you regret not putting that evidence before us all so that we can understand why it was an imminent threat as opposed to a threat that may happen within a few months or a few years? And as my colleague has said, if it's a question of the threat a few months or years ahead, we will get back to that position again unless we have negotiations.
It's a fair question. If you are, while you're presenting to the world the factual imminent threat, usually it's too late. But on top of this, and of course, you're always limited by the fact that you don't want to surrender your intelligence sources. Now, the entire international community is a bit post-traumatic from the United States going to war against Iraq based on information that is flawed. This is not the case.
How do we know that?
What?
I'm so sorry. How do we know that you're not going to war on the basis of flawed evidence? We haven't seen anything at all, flawed or not.
You saw you saw Fordow, you saw Natanz, you saw Isfahan, we've shown the Americans, of course, large with the cooperation or sharing of information was quite extensive. And I'm going back to the beginning of our conversation. I am no fan of Israel's government, and I'm going to have, I don't know, if easy time discussing with you about Gaza, but easier time than the government, because I completely disagree with what they're doing there.
We will get on to that.
On this one, at one point or another, you will have to decide who you trust. So I'm telling you, if you want to know who you trust, Israel or Iran, on this, you should trust Israel.
I'd like to refer you back to an interview that you gave last year where you said Netanyahu is not working for the country. The only thing he cares about is staying in power. He's for himself. He's lost his soul. Is the endless sort of fight for wars and constant wanting to keep the extended war in Gaza continuous? Is this just an existential fight for survival for Netanyahu?
Well, this is, I feel a bit uncomfortable to discuss this with a foreign, even if friendly parliament. Just on a personal note, I am so tired of analyzing his psychological motives. This has become an international game like they do with President Trump. Basically, when something is doing is the right thing to do, as he did in Iran, then it's the right thing to do. When something is wrong, like in Gaza, then it's the wrong thing to do. And I can give you an endless list of reasons why is it that I think he's the wrong person to lead the country. But I think you'll understand if I rather do it in Hebrew to the Israeli voters.
Just in relation to the current conflict in Gaza, what do you think should happen to bring the war to an end?
Are we there yet?
I think we're probably there yet. I think we only have 15 minutes, so we've done half an hour in Iran, so let's go on to Gaza.
Okay. Number one, as I said numerous times, including twice this morning, what we need to do is go to an agreement in Gaza, end the war, and bring back the hostages, because this is going nowhere. That raises the question, what needs to be done in Gaza? The plan I presented to the American administrations, I've discussed this with your foreign minister and others, is I think what needs to be done is to let the Egyptians run Gaza for the next 15 years. I will explain. Because this is not an instinctive solution, and it is not a flawless solution. It is just the best solution out of many bad ideas. Right now, the problem we have is we have no one to give Gaza to. Everybody understands why is it that Israel is saying Hamas cannot stay. The Palestinian Authority is too weak and incompetent. We thought in the beginning that some sort of a coalition of Arab countries, Sunni, moderate Muslim countries, like the Saudis, the Emirates, and others, will be the right coalition to run Gaza. But right now, it doesn't seem possible, opposite other things that are going on in the region that I'm not sure we're going to have time to discuss. Egypt has run Gaza for 19 years, between 48 and 67. They know how to fight terror. They know how to fight Muslim Brotherhood, or again, it's a radical, twisted version of Islam. It's not Islam. They know how to cooperate with us. We have fought together against ISIS, and they can function as guardians for the Palestinian people. I'm not going to spend my time or yours defending something I deeply believe is hazardous to the soul of my country. This is not what this country is all about. I mean, this is not why my father came here from the Holocaust to build a nation, and this is not why people fight wars, not to become a heartless country. We are a country with a heart in a difficult situation, surrounded by bitter but terrible enemies, fighting the worst kind of terror on a daily basis. But this doesn't justify becoming like them. This only comes to emphasize the necessity and the duty to be different. And not everybody in our government remembered this.
Can I ask you a question about your plan? Just because I think probably we ought to, for the sake of completeness, just put this aspect as well. I mean, the Egyptians don't agree with it, do they? Which is a big problem.
Well, it depends. You know, when I was in Washington discussing this, I said to them, you have to understand, because we know the Egyptians pretty well. The first thing they're going to say is no, and then they're going to discuss it. This is, I mean, we've been working with them. I mean, one of the, you know what, it's an encouraging thought that wars come and go in the Middle East, but if you're looking at this, agreements survive. We have a peace agreement with the Egyptians for 50 years now, and with the Jordanians for almost 40. And the Abraham Accords that everybody thought were really, really fragile has lasted the last 2 years of what happened in Gaza. So the agreements we are signing seem to be more solid than the fighting that came before them. And I think we know how to close a deal, especially if it takes into consideration the internal problems that preoccupies Egypt and the Egyptian leadership. And besides, and people needs to remember, and I reminded the Egyptians that the reconstruction and rebuilding, rehabilitating of Gaza is going to be the second largest economical project in the Middle East after the rebuilding, reconstruction, and rehabilitating of Syria. So it's big business. It's the right thing to do. It's bringing them back to the position they always had, which is the most important Arabic country. It has so many advantages to Egypt that I believe we can find a way. And you know what? It doesn't even contradict. And this on this, the Egyptians agreed with me. It doesn't contradict the plan that the Egyptians themselves has presented in the Arab League last 2 Arab League meetings, because it's going to be some sort of an interim stage towards the plan they have presented.
What you mean is the plan that the rest of the world believes is the way forward, which is 2 states.
The rest of the Arab world.
Yeah, but they also want 2 states.
Well, as I said, we don't want to. Listen, there was a funny. It was funny to me. I don't know if you're going to find it funny. Before the conference in Saudi Arabia, when President Trump went to Riyadh and everybody was invited but us, and somebody asked me about this, and I said, this is weird. This is because the only thing the Saudis wanted was that Netanyahu will say something about the possibility of somewhere down the road in the far future, if all Palestinians will converted to Judaism and become blonde, then we will agree to a 2-state solution. And he refused. And I've said on Israeli television that this was the very first time ever that everybody was asking Benjamin Netanyahu to lie, and he refused. So, yes, eventually I want peace with the Palestinians. And this shouldn't be off the table ever, because this is what I want for my children.